Congress is on break right now, but when you come back, there is a push that you're involved in to defund universal health care by carving it out of the next continuing resolution. Already, they're calling everybody involved an extremist. I personally think that if this would work, you would not only defund the president's health care plan and stop it dead in its tracks, I really, truly believe you would see John McCain walk out of the GOP and say, I'm going to do Joe Lieberman. I'm an independent because this party has been taken over by extremists, and that would be the biggest victory of all. How is the defunding program coming, in your opinion?
Well, but for a few Republicans who have been critical of it before it got started, I think it would have had more success. What I tell people is that when I come home Kentucky, everybody's exactly the way they were in 2010. They want us to do something to defund Obamacare. Medicare is $35 to $40 trillion in the hole, and taking money from Medicare to pay for Obamacare just isn't going to work. And they want us to do something. We control a third of the government, which means we may not be able to win, but they want us to stand up and try. And if you control a third of the government, shouldn't you use that leverage to at least get rid of some of Obamacare or try to get rid of some of it? You start out with defunding the whole thing, but maybe we just get it delayed. I don't know what the final outcome is because I can't guarantee victory, but I can guarantee you get nothing if you don't try. And that's why I think Republicans are hungry for leadership in our party to say, somebody stand up to the president, somebody stand up to Obamacare and do something.
I saw a story from a progressive Democrat that said, after this is funded, if you guys lose this fight, and once this thing is funded and on its way, the Tea Party and small government conservatives are over. And they said that it is really one of the last stands here, and it's a real fight in the. It's a fight against American constitutionalists and progressives on both sides.
Yeah, but I think the fight doesn't end because I've told people even if we lose this fight on funding it, there's going to be another fight within a year when all the bills come due at the state legislative level because they don't have a printing press at the state capitol. And so they will have bills, and they're going to be enormous for this thing. And I think also there's going to be a rebellion among the people when they see how much their premiums are. And then guess what? They had insurance before, but they lose their doctor, lose their insurance, and they're paying more for their premiums. They're going, now why did I vote for the president on this?
Do you think they're going to, to add fuel to the fire, do you think they're going to, there's going to be a real movement to bail out Detroit?
I think there may, and I've been talking with my staff about having a Republican alternative to it because I think there is a way in an economically depressed zone to have some tax forbearance, reduce some taxes, encourage businesses, encourage people to come in and take abandoned property. The other thing I suggested is the money we're sending to Egypt for tanks and planes, we could put it into infrastructure. It doesn't have to go just to Detroit, but across America, it would go into repairing infrastructure. And so I think there are ways that we could do it in a Republican fashion, but I will not be for borrowing any money, from China to try to bail out Detroit, particularly if they continue the same policies. Really, bankruptcy is an opportunity to try to get rid of bad contracts, start out afresh, and try to maybe pay your workers, have fewer workers, but pay them closer to what the market pays them in the private sector.
I will tell you that, the boys were talking about, we could buy homes, Glenn. We could buy a home for $1. We could buy a whole block for 10. And they were talking about there, some people are going in and buying, lots of houses, et cetera, et cetera. And I said I wouldn't do it because I'm not convinced that I wouldn't be held responsible or liable now for all of the bad decisions that city makes. You have to have a fresh start. If you had a fresh start, new money would pour in there. And people would say, I've got an idea. I know how we can do this. I know how we can fix this. I know how we can turn it around. But who's going to do that?
It would bring in new politics, too, that maybe the people who've been voting for the Democrats for 50 years in Detroit, who ran the once great city into the ground, maybe they'd choose some new leadership, and the Republican Party would have a resurgence in Detroit, and we could say, look, we have the ability and the ideas to bring forward a recovery for Detroit. But that may be wishful thinking.
Yeah, I think that's wishful thinking. What I think is a possibility, not now, but what is a possibility is to get entrepreneurs, libertarians, smallest possible government, the kind of guys that are doing the cutting edge ideas of, what is that sea thing that they have that big ship out in sea, and they're like, we're going to try to redesign everything. You have some real libertarian thinkers, some real big money, and some entrepreneurs come in there and say, all bets are off. We want this property to try something entirely different. That, I think, could excite the minds and imaginations of Americans. And if you just said, look, I own it, and that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to take care of it and police it myself, and we're going to try some new experiment, that would capture imagination.
You've hit on it, because what you have to have is not only tax-free zones, you need to have regulation-free zones. Yeah. Apparently Detroit, there's 46 pages of regulations for setting up a business, and everywhere you go, you're paying off somebody or paying a legalized bribe to get your business license. You have to eliminate all that red tape, and so it has to be a low tax or a tax-free zone and a regulation-free zone, and just do it because it's blighted, and see if people will come in if you tell them they can just open their business and start tomorrow.
Well, the name of the book is Government Bullies, How Everyday Americans Are Being Harassed, Abused, and Imprisoned by the Feds. And if you ever have a friend who says, oh, tell me where the rights have gone away, you just give them this book. It's available now in paperback everywhere. Government Bullies by Senator Rand Paul, out today in paperback in stores everywhere. Thanks so much, Senator.
Thanks, Glenn.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.